Good day, Jamaica. Toraino Beckford here. I'll be discussing the topic of police reform. In Jamaica, we have the Jamaica Constabulary Force, and many people accuse the Jamaica Constabulary Force of being inadequate in fighting Jamaica's unique crime problem. We know that we have a unique crime problem in Jamaica, and we need certain strategies in order to address this unique crime problem. However, many people think that the Jamaica Constabulary Force is riddled with corruption, lacks the adequate equipment and resources, and lacks up-to-date training in order to tackle the crime problem that we are facing. So now I'll be giving certain ideas regarding police reform. Well, I've been assessing this situation for a while, and I think that one of the solutions would be to reform the JCF on a whole. Jamaica Constabulary Force is arguably a vestige of the colonial era, and I think that affects the impact that it has on the public. The public relations capacity of the JCF is under efficient because people see it as an oppressive force from the colonial past, and without even having the colonial identification to the JCF, people still see it as a brutal force of oppression for some reason. So what we should do is to reform the organization, rename the organization the Jamaica Police Department, introduce new uniforms, new color code, and give the people a reason to give the police force a second chance. So you have to reintroduce them to the public. And this will affect the moral of the people, definitely. People will be more inclined to give intelligence, which is a critical part of crime fighting in Jamaica. If you're not fighting crime with intelligence backing, with neighborhood watches, with informants on the ground in different communities, well, you're not doing a good job at tackling crime. That is just crime fighting 101 at this point. So I'm thinking that we should reintroduce the police force to the people. So we call it the Jamaica Police Department. We reintroduce it with a new color code. So how would we establish this new police department, this new police force in Jamaica? What we would do is to create the Jamaica Police Department and gradually draft individuals from the Jamaica Constabulary Force into the Jamaica Police Department. So we won't have the Jamaica Constabulary Force being dismantled immediately. It will exist in order to continue its role of fighting crime, but the Jamaica Police Department will be created simultaneously, and you consistently draft over police from the Jamaica Constabulary Force to the Jamaica Police Department. What would you do is to assess them on different criteria. Their allegiance to law, that is the first thing. Whether or not these police officers abide by the law. So that would dictate whether or not they would be drafted in the Jamaica Police Department or they would be fired. Because that is the difference now. We will be starting a simultaneous recruitment program. So what we will be doing is getting rid of the police that are undesirable, that we do not want in the Jamaica Police Department. So we will be assessing all of the police officers on the basis of their allegiance to the law of Jamaica, meaning whether or not they are breaking the law, whether or not they are involved in corruption, their ability to police, their capacity to carry out policing duties. So many police officers, they are not corrupt, but they just cannot play the role of police officers. They are inadequate police officers. For one reason or another, they just cannot adequately play the role of a police officer. So that is another criteria. And the other one is mental health. A lot of our police officers do not have adequate mental health and are not stable. They carry out a lot of killing in Jamaica, and we know this. A lot of killing. We're not just talking about extrajudicial killing, which is very destructive to the mind. To experience extrajudicial killing, it's synonymous to murder. But we're talking about just the everyday, the everyday weight of being a police officer in Jamaica. That has tremendous impact on our officers, and therefore we have to look out for them. We should not neglect them and just kick them out of the force if they are mentally unstable. We should start a fund to support them and to maintain them, but at the same time we just simply cannot have mentally unstable police officers policing the streets of Jamaica. So these are the three characteristics, the three criteria in which you assess each police officer while you're transferring them from the Jamaica Constabulary Force to the Jamaica Police Department. And also, one of the things you'll have to do now is adequate salaries. You have to make sure that the police officers are getting adequate salaries. If you're not paying the police officers properly, they will indulge in corruption because you cannot give them that level of power that is associated with policing and not pay them well. You're just telling them to indulge in corruption, and this is a political technique, in corrupt countries where the political class do not want the police officers to develop the confidence or develop the mindset to arrest corrupt politicians. What the politicians do is make sure that they do not pay the police adequately. So when they pay the police inadequately, the police find themselves indulging in corruption in order to make ends meet. And when you have corruption in your experience or your background, you will be far less reluctant to arrest a corrupt politician, and they know this. This is in the Dictator's Handbook. It is an established political technique. So what we need to do is get rid of this political technique in Jamaica by making sure that our police officers are adequately paid. We need special training for our police officers. So we're not just rebranding the police force and sending out just the same policing standard to the people of Jamaica. We are going to elevate the standard of policing in Jamaica. We are going to go to first world countries, negotiate with them, speak with retired police chiefs and so on. Speak with individuals who have expertise but are willing to sell that expertise at a adequate rate, because they have a lot of retired police officers in first world countries that can teach us a lot. And they probably don't want that much because they are living on what? Adequate pension. They're not living on anything big. So what we need to do is scout the first world countries, the United States, Britain, Germany, Japan, and a lot of these countries, and find retired police officers that can contribute some level of expertise. We're not talking about the Marxist Les Green experiment. We're talking about getting these officers to give a certain level of expertise. We're not going to hire them. We're just requiring their expertise and their experience as experienced head of law enforcement. We need to teach our police officers on the issue of violence mediation. I see this a lot of times. Whether in downtown Kingston, throughout Jamaica, we see the police officers are inadequate in how they address escalating conflicts. We see them using inadequate aggression. We see them using excessive force. We see them using techniques that only fuel the conflict rather than to neutralize the conflict or to address the conflict. So we need our police officers to be trained in that manner, that you're not out there to bully and to stamp down the Jamaican people. You're there to keep them safe and to keep them in the paradigms of the law. So you're not out there to compete with them. It's not a man versus man thing, and I see this all the time. The police officers and the citizens have this competitive relations where, they are competing for power, and that is not how it's supposed to be. The police officer is there to protect the citizens, and the citizens are there to obey the lawful command of the police officer. And we need to come to an agreement regarding the relations between the police and the people in Jamaica, because there isn't a consensus on that issue. There's clearly no consensus because we have such a tension and these competitive relations between the citizens and the police, in that the police see the citizens as challenging their authority, and the citizens don't think that the police respect them or appreciate their rights. So another is people skill, another issue which directly relate back to the conflict mediation. It's somewhat related. Many of our police officers have been accused of lacking people skills. They don't have the politeness, the character to interact with people, to let them feel that they are protectors of the nation. Many people accuse police officers of stopping them, and their first interaction is an expletive. Come out of the what's in that car, and this thing is true. It might not be true for certain social class in Jamaica where the police officer say in a BMW, you're well just going to work. So if they do stop you, they will approach you politely. This is the reality for many people in Jamaica, and they are mostly associated with the lower social class. So we have to take that into consideration, that the police need to approach the citizens as if they believe that they are citizens and not criminals on their first interaction, their initial interaction. One of the more important requirements we want from the newly established Jamaica Police Department, this is the ability to prosecute white-collar crimes. Not only just white-collar crimes. I'm not being general. I'm trying to be specific here. Corruption. We want to see our police officers arresting mainstream politicians when they are indulging in corruption. When I break the law, I am immediately arrested, subjected to court, and sentenced to prison time as an average citizen. Why cannot our political leaders face that? From my knowledge, I think Wheatley and Rural Reed should be in prison. But there is no police officer in Jamaica that have the confidence and consciousness and the level of, the level of bravery and devotion to their duty to approach a mainstream politician and to arrest them. Not only that, they don't even experience proper investigation. So the police aren't investigating these people in order to prosecute them in the first place. And that is probably the most critical part of law enforcement that we need in Jamaica. The part where you arrest people who indulge in corruption, politicians who indulge in corruption. There is no regulation for politicians. Politicians are above the law. There are nobody there to stop them. And the police have the authority, but because the Jamaican situation is, the politicians relate psychologically to the police. You see a politician, mainstream person, you see on the news every night. So you don't feel like he's in the realm of arresting. You can arrest a little man downtown, but you can't arrest the politicians who are stealing up to $4 billion from the country. That is what? $2,000 for each man and woman in Jamaica if you say the population is 2.7 million people. So that's a lot of money. It's a very destructive crime that these politicians are committing, and they need to face arrest. So I'm encouraging the police of the newly established Jamaica Police Department to proceed in arresting politicians. We need to see some of them going to prison. Exactly. Or we will not take part in this system because the system is corrupt. All the politicians this system is serving. And Jamaica's certain things is not adequate in Jamaica for us to tolerate the level of corruption and inadequate governance that the government is actually delivering. So there must be some form of recourse. And we want the police to be that recourse, to investigate politicians and to prosecute them. And we want to see successful prosecution. And this is not the current Spencer case where you guys play it off and give the illusion that there is political regulation in Jamaica and political accountability. And then sooner or later the case quiet down and he's not in prison. We don't want that. Now he's on TV. So we need internal regulations to balance the Jamaica Police Department so that it doesn't regress to the level of the Jamaica Police Force. That is one of the things that we need. And we don't want Indicom to play a political role. We don't want police to feel like when they are playing their duty, they are, risking their life out there. Indicom is going to come and inadequately regulate them, everything they do, every move they make, and to limit their ability to police the streets and to make them feel, like they can't police the street without pressure. So we need legal aid, a legal aid fund for the police officers. All police officers that are under Indicom investigation and are subjected to the courts need to access this fund. The only time you need to pay back this fund, and this is when the police officers are proved to be guilty, then they are required to pay back the fund. But the initial legal cost or the cost for the legal services should be dealt with by a fund, a legal aid fund. So the police officers shouldn't be dipping in their pockets to take care of issues that may not dictate that they were guilty. So you go to court under a questionable circumstances, but you weren't guilty, and you have to be paying out of your pocket. You're disadvantaging yourself financially. That shouldn't be, because the duty of police officers is a duty that naturally attracts litigation. So we have to take that into consideration. If they're going to adequately do their duties, they're going to find themselves occasionally in circumstances that attract some form of litigatory inquiry, so to speak. So we need also a health fund for our police officers injured on the duty. So in order to send out our police officers to risk their life, to risk their safety, we have to take into consideration the health-related risks that are associated with law enforcement. And we have to, as such, approach the issue in a fair manner, meaning that this should naturally exist. I don't know why I put it before the legal aid issue, because you should have a fund for the health care of our police officers. So these are the issues that I'm advocating in relation to police reform, in order to contribute a capable and sophisticated police force to address the unique crime problem that we're having in Jamaica. This is Toraino Beckford, independent candidate for Westmoreland Central.